wife always says, and it's something that her mom always taught her, is that if you're hanging around people, the one thing you don't want to do is ever, she said, if you can't bring them up, definitely don't let them bring you down. And so, in answer to your question, you can choose and identify and select individuals that you view, Rashad, as mentors, even if they're not necessarily in finance. Now, don't get me wrong, it's always very intelligent to find specific mentors in this business because we're in the same game as you. So we're going to give you specific things to do that can take you, your lifestyle, your family, and your income to a whole other level. But in addition to that, you start looking at other things, other individuals like Robert Kiyosaki, who will be here this weekend, Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey. I mean, people that have had insurmountable amounts of success. And look and study who they are inside and out. And work on your craft. Work on being the best Rashad that you can be. And I promise you, when you do that, because the competition is not always with other people. The main competition that's more important than whatever anybody else is doing, the main competition is with you. So just be the best you can be. Study, read, audiobooks, everything you can do. Television shows, be selective what you put in. My wife was talking about something, I keep referencing her, but she's sitting right over there. I just want to stand up so I can tell her how much I love her. He's baddest in the game. But listen, what I do is I constantly want to feed the brain, constantly. So even when you're doing just your regular routine, your regular wake-up hygiene, brush your teeth, for me, shave my head, Phil, you know about that. I'm in there, I've got some audio on, I've got something that's going to elevate my thinking. And it's little things like I always let people know, I've had little fun debates even with my mother. And my mom's always talking about when she comes to Dallas to visit. I've told this before, but this is just real. She's like, well, turn on the news. I'm like, I refuse to do that, Mom. Look, I don't ever disrespect or disobey what my mother asks me to do. But when she says turn on the news, that's one that, hey, the remote's over there. I'm not doing that. She's like, why? I'm like, because the news is negative.
That's right.
I don't want that getting into my psyche. She's like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. The news is not always negative. I said, you know what, Mom? I've always learned from you, but this time I want you to hear what I'm saying. Let's sit down and watch this news together. It was just coming on. We sat down. I sat right next to her, and I said, just to prove a point, let's watch it together. After about the fourth story, and we were both in the deepest level of depression, I looked at her and said, has my point been proven? She said, I don't know what's going on out here in Dallas. You know Chicago is worse. So I can say that. But my point is, you guys, be very selective what you allow in here. Don't go to bed with the news on, dreaming about that stuff in your subconscious. Be very selective with the kind of music you listen to. Look, and I'm not one to say don't listen to music or certain kinds of music you shouldn't listen to. That's not who I am, but I am saying that while you're on the grind, trying to get to where you need to get to save your family permanently. And right now, I just think that there's certain things that can be put on the back burner. And you got to make sure that your car becomes a university on wheels to constantly educate and take your life and your game and your mindset to a whole nother level. So that's about the best advice I can give you, and I welcome any feedback from them as well.
I'll just say one thing. Like Steve was saying, what you see and what you listen to is very effective. Your eyes and your ears is basically irrigate to your soul. So whatever you're putting in there, that's what's going to come out. And so like even with the news, if you're always watching negative stuff, you're wondering why something happened in your business, now you automatically go to a negative thought. It's because what you're putting in is automatically come out. But if you're always putting positive stuff in, that's what's going to come out. Just a prime example. I was talking about my son about something, and we always feed him with positive stuff. Son, don't say I can't. Don't say what you can't do or you don't want. Say what you do want. And so with saying that, I told my son, I said, man, I hope this happens. He said, Dad, don't say I hope. Just say it will.
like it's a curse word, you know? Don't say that anymore. And one thing that Pastor taught the kids that we can all do as adults, and a lot of times we as adults sometimes need to do this even more so than the children, is whenever you come into a situation where you've got what you might consider an issue, I don't like to use the word problem, but an issue, as opposed to focusing on what that issue is, immediately go into 3 solutions. So it was something as small as my older son was upset because my younger son took some of his food and was eating it. And when you 3, or when you 5 and your 3-year-old little brother takes your food, that's a major problem. So he came running to Pasha and was ready to go in about the fact that Justin was eating his stuff. And because Pasha has constantly instilled this in them, she said, wait a minute, Stephen, what is it that you need to come up with? And he just immediately caught himself and said, 3 solutions. Now, he was 4 at the time. He just turned 5. But she said, so what are these solutions? He was like, so he's got to come up with 3. So he sat back and he was just like, I can go get him some. She said, that's 1. I can share. That was 2. What was the 3rd one, babe?
I can ask Mommy to get me another piece.
I can ask Mommy to go get me another piece. When you start to think that way, you're not focusing on the problem, you're focusing on the solution. Wow. So as adults, we need to adopt that as well.
I'm done.
One thing that I'll piggyback on is probably related to what Ms. Carter said. If you take a look at yourself and you look at the 5 closest people to you, and you're the smartest person in the group, and you got the most money in the group, then you need to change your circle, because they can't help you get to where you're trying to get. You need to look at that person that is where you want to go, and that's where you're going to mimic what you do. I buy all of the Carter's information. I listen to it in my car. I've even, in the BMW, you can put it in and you can actually save it to your system. I actually save it to my system so I can ride down the road and I can listen to this information, because that repetitive listening to it gets down in there and it causes me to do some things differently than I've done before. So that's what I would add to that. We have these sayings that our parents always told us: if you run with a pack of wolves, you'll howl like them. You lay down with dogs, you get fleas. You stay away from those things and you get to those places where you want to go. So you come to events like our national events. You go to the PBRs, you go to the BOMs, you do all those things that's going to grow not only you, but it's